Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean woman, and I am currently living here in Zim, in a town that is called Rishavane. I have my own story of what happened when I went and when I visited my sister in South Africa. As for now, we do not even know where our sister is, because after we had done a go back to sender, she started running mad and she ran away from home. My sister, she had a beauty spa there in South Africa. She had a lot of businesses as well as saloons. My sister had a college where she would be teaching women how to become beauty technicians. That college was still there in South Africa. But what we did not know at that time as a family was that my sister was a ritualist, and she was the one that was killing the people in the family. It was only after we had done a go back to sender, after so many years as a family we had been fighting against each other. Then that was when we found out that our dear sister, our beloved rich sister, was the one who was using these charms against us. My sister, whenever she wanted us to fight, this is what she will do. When she confessed to us, after we had done a go back to sender, she said, whenever I would see that you want to go and visit some prophets or traditional healers, I would come back to Zim, and then I would go to our mother's graves, and then she would plant a flower close to our mother's grave, and this flower, it will grow overnight, and then she will dig up that flower, and after digging up that flower, then she will burn it. After burning it, she will scatter the ashes that she would have burnt, and then the way that she would have scattered the ashes, that is how we were scattered all over the world. As a family, we were not united. We would even go for 2 years in the family without saying anything. In the family group that we had on WhatsApp, we would be so quiet, no one even greeting each other, because we were scattered and we were never united because of her. So she knew that us as a family, as long as we were not united, she was going to be controlling everything, controlling everyone, using all the money that she had in South Africa. It simply meant that she could do whatever that she wanted with the rest of us. My sister was married to her husband. Her husband was a Congolese man who was from DRC. And through that man, she learned to perform those evil satanic rituals that she was performing. Even by the time when I went to stay with my sister, I did not even know that both of them, she and her husband, they were ritualists. We were suffering. We would look up to my wealthy sister for everything that we wanted. Our sister was the one that would provide for all the people in the family, the elderly, the young. She used to call herself the sole provider of the family. She did not want anyone to go to South Africa to look for a job. If you will start to talk about you wanting to go to South Africa so that you can start working, she will instantly block you. She will block you. She did not want anyone to go to South Africa to work, to visit her. Yes, she would want you to go and visit her, but she did not want people to work, because she knew that if you would go to South Africa, if you would get an opportunity to work, then it meant that financially you would become financially independent from her, never asking her for money or for food or for anything. She never wanted any family member to be independent. She wanted us to be dependent on her at all the times. And whenever she will talk about South Africa, this was the picture that she used to paint. Yet she had all those businesses that were thriving in South Africa. She would be like, in South Africa, there are people that are heartless, that can just kill you for your money. Therefore, I do not want you to come to South Africa to work. Yet she was running all of those businesses there. She knew that if we could get the opportunity to find a job, in time, one can use their own money to go to a church, a prophet or a traditional healer. She never wanted us to have financial freedom. We were a family that was filled with poverty, yet we would hear rumors of our sister being a multimillionaire in South Africa. And at that time, we did not know that when we would beg for her to give us some money, either for food or for anything, what we did not know was that the money that she was giving to us, it was cursed money. You will never be able to do anything with cursed money. Ritual money does not work at all. There was one cousin sister of mine who had tried to go to South Africa. Before we had known it, our sister was a ritualist. Our cousin sister, she died whilst she was on a bus. She was going to South Africa, and it was a big challenge because this was what our sister said. Our sister said that, I told you a very long time ago that I do not want you guys to die here in South Africa because there is a lot of crime that is taking place. So this one that did her stuff without telling me, and she came to South Africa on her own, I'm not going to assist you to buy anything that you're going to use for the funeral. I cannot assist you. Things were so tough. We had to sell chickens. Some other relatives had to sell even goats, cattle, so that we can just buy her coffin. And after she had seen that we had managed to buy our sister's coffin because she died on the bus, but now the challenge was that there was money that was needed for her body to be repatriated back to our village. We did not have the money. We could have never even afford to repatriate her body. That was when she said she was going to assist us, but it was a warning that we were never supposed to come to South Africa to look for a job without her knowledge. Anyone who would want to travel to South Africa, she said, if you die, I'm not going to assist. If you want money, she said, I have enough money to take care of the whole family. Why do you want to come and work? But the reason as to why we were pushing for her to look for a job for us in South Africa, it was because we could see that our life was not going anywhere. Each and every month, it was the same story month, and we had to beg her to give us some money, which was very difficult. Then she will send us maybe $50. Then another relative as well would go to her to ask for money. So this created a situation whereby our sister was the one who was controlling everything in the family. She was controlling each and everything that we were doing, from rent to the food that we ate. And she kept on saying that, with the way that I have so much money, why do you want to look for a job? And my sister, whenever she would give you the money that she would have sent you, the money would never work for you. I still remember there was this other time when she had sent me some money from South Africa. You know what I bought with the money that she had sent me? Only my hair. I went and I collected the money from Mukuru, and then when I was going to the taxi rank, that was when I found out that I had lost the money. I thought that maybe there were thieves that had stolen the money from me, but I said, how was it even possible? Because after collecting the money that she had sent to me, I had placed that money underneath my breast in my bra so as to keep it safe. But when I looked for it, I could not even find it. That is what used to happen. There was even a time after my mom had asked our sister for some money so that we can buy some food. My mom was heartbroken because our sister started insulting my mom over the phone, saying that all that she thought about was money and nothing else. So one day when our sister sent us $300, me and my mom, we then sat down, and my mom was like, the last time when I spoke with your sister, when I was asking her to send us some money, you saw the way that she cursed us. She cursed us big time. And now that she has sent us all of this money, let us try to buy some food in bulk so that we won't ask her for money again whilst we are trying to look for something that can help us and we can start to feed ourselves. We bought the food in bulk. We used all the money that she had sent to buy food in bulk, thinking that it was a good thing that we had done. But that food, even though it was plenty, the way that it got finished we could not even understand. All of a sudden, at our home, there were too many cockroaches, as well as plenty of rats that were eating the food, even the cooking oil. We ended up looking for a metallic drum, and we were storing all of the food in that metallic drum. But when we would wake up in the morning, somehow the rats would have gained access and they would have eaten the food. As for the cooking oil, if you were cooking and then you just place the 2-liter bottle with the cooking oil down, by the time that you will check it again, you will see that a rat would have beaten the bottle and all of the cooking oil will be gone. Within a very short period of time, our sister had cursed us and the food that we had bought was gone. We begged for money again, even though we were not understanding that it was because our sister was a ritualist. Then one of my brother as well went to South Africa. He ended up being stabbed in South Africa. What our brother did not know was that at the time when he went to South Africa, in that same month, that was when our sister and her husband were supposed to perform a blood ritual and a sacrifice was needed. But in Zim, he had been pushed to go to South Africa because the wife was pregnant and he just wanted to help himself and also to help his wife. So he crossed the border into South Africa without ever telling us because of the pressure of wanting to take care of his wife. When he found himself in South Africa, he was staying in another province and then he was stabbed. He chose another province far from the place where our sister was staying with her husband. And then at that time, it was a time when our sister and her husband were supposed to perform a blood sacrifice, and they chose him since he was closest to them and he was stabbed to death. We did not even know that this was what was going on. She blamed all the crime that was happening in South Africa and said it was what had killed our brother. Yet there was something that was much more deeper, something that was much more satanic that was going on. Then there was a time when our sister fell pregnant. She then called me to South Africa. So I went to South Africa because she said she wanted me to go to South Africa and to help her to take care of her child. People of God, I never thought that there are people that are so wicked in life as my sister was. I had never seen such a crippled baby in my life. That child that she gave birth to, may God forgive me, for it was not a human being. It was like a tokoloshi that I saw. That child was so scary. My sister was even scared of touching her own baby. She had refused to breastfeed the child that she had given birth to. She only bought baby formula, and I was the one who was like a mother to that baby. It was like a creature that I had never seen in my life. I could not even look at the baby twice because of the way that this newborn baby's body was so twisted. She never took any pictures of her newborn baby. As a matter of fact, she even lied to her friends that when she delivered the baby, unfortunately the baby had passed away. This baby was only alive for about 2 months. Then the baby passed away. Do you know that out there are people that are so evil? Before they had even informed the police and the funeral services, they performed a ritual using their baby's body, and she defended her husband and said that is what they do in her husband's culture back in DRC. And I don't know if it is the truth or not, but what I saw when they were performing that ritual, it was quite scary. They performed this ritual. This child passed away somewhere around 7 p.m. And when they returned back, that was when I told them that the child was not okay. I told them that the baby was not breathing properly. The child was not okay. The baby was in the bedroom and they did not even care. By the time that we went to the baby's crib, it seemed as if there was someone that was trying to blow air out of its nostrils. The noise that was coming out of the baby's chest, it was something that I had never heard before. But my sister and her husband, they did something that was quite scary. They did not even care that their own child who was in the bedroom was so sick and was not breathing properly. All that they cared for is if I had prepared something for dinner. When I said no, sister, I could not prepare anything in time because I felt so weak and I could not cook. I did not have the energy to cook because the baby kept on crying and was not breathing properly. Therefore, I was unable to cook your food in time. My sister got so angry. She was swearing at me, insulting me. Even her husband also was swearing at me and saying that, so this thing in which she was calling her child a thing, she said that this thing that is sick there, that is what you were caring for. Instead of cooking for me, you were supposed to focus on your cooking, not to focus on this sick baby. This was no longer a baby to her, but it was a thing. She said, this thing is the one that has made you not to cook for me. What is so special about this thing? Her husband said, that thing is already dead. It was dead before it was even born. You were supposed to do your duties and prepare a meal for us. And I said, sister, is it even fair for you to say something like that? She slapped me so hard, so much I even felt like she had broken my tooth and I was already bleeding. Her husband was equally mad with me. He was shouting on top of his voice. I felt so confused. I did not even know what was happening with everything that was taking place in their home. During that time, when I started staying with my sister, there were other things that were happening that I could not understand. I always had this dream. I would see my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. The man would come to me, chasing after me, and usually whenever he would be chasing after me, wearing a black garment, then I would see my sister. My sister would be saying, come, dear sister, let me show you a safe place where we can hide. Then we will start to run together, as if my sister also is afraid of her husband. Then her husband will keep on chasing after us, holding a knife, as we would enter into the forest, running away from her husband. Then I would see a cave, and I will say, dear sister, look at that. We can go and hide ourselves in that cave. And then she would say, you are such a clever girl. Let us go and hide in that cave. When we would go into that cave with my sister, then the cave would become her bedroom. I would find myself locked up and trapped in her bedroom. This kept on happening day in, day out whenever I would have this dream. And I would see my sister, she would remove the clothes that she would be wearing, and then she would be wearing a black garment. And the way that she would be looking at me, it will be so scary. She will be having those long nails that are scary. She would show me the knife that she wanted to use to stab me, and she would push me on the bed. The moment that I would fall on her bed, something would hold me against my will on the bed, such that it would be difficult for me to run away. And then from underneath the bed, I would see a snake that would come out. It was a python, and her husband will appear out of nowhere and hold me and rape me against my will, and he would sleep with me in a painful way. After that, then the snake will come and it will do the same to me. I would feel the snake as it is entering my womb, as if it wanted to lay its eggs. What will stop this snake from laying its eggs in my womb? It was this other woman that would be shining bright, that would suddenly appear in the room. Those were the dreams that I was having. The mistake that I made was that I told my sister. I never thought that she was a ritualist. I told her that these were the dreams that I was having, for I thought that amongst our relatives there was one who was bewitching her as well as bewitching me. So I informed her. Then one night she asked me if I kept on having those dreams. We were watching TV when I told her, and I said, yes, sister, I keep on having these dreams. She and her husband, they looked at each other. They went outside. When they went outside, she came back. She was holding some leaves from this other lemon tree that they had in their yard, 4 of those leaves, and then the husband crushed those leaves, boiled them, and gave me to drink. There was another day again when I told them that I kept on having the same dream. They gave me more herbs, and when they left me, when they went out to get those lemon leaves, we were watching a horror movie on Netflix. I kept on watching the movie. When they left me alone watching the TV, there is something that happened that I could not understand at that time. There was a woman. It was mysterious at that time when this vision started. There was a woman that came out of the TV. She came out of the TV as I was watching the movie. This woman, she was wearing a long dress, and she was as light-skinned, just like my brother-in-law, and she looked exactly like my sister's husband. She wore a beautiful dress, which was long, a party dress, and it was a royal blue dress in color. This woman, she then lifted her dress, she revealed her private parts to me, and I saw that her private parts were no longer there, for someone had cut off her private parts. She went further and revealed her chest area to me, and I saw that she did not have her breast, and there was someone that had cut off her breast as well. And this woman started walking towards me. It was so scary when I was in that vision, everything that I was seeing. Then I screamed because I realized that this was a ghost. That woman said, "Why did you scream? For I had came here to help you, to show you what is going on." Then the vision stopped. My sister and her husband, they returned back. They asked me what I had seen. Why was I screaming? I told them, since I was scared to tell them the truth, I said that there was a part of the movie that was so scary, so much that I kept on screaming. I could not tell them that I had the same dream. And then my brother-in-law gave me those boiled lemon leaves mixed with some terrible charms that were terrible to taste, and said, "You need to drink this." After I had drank that, from that day, the way that I used to dream, it was difficult for me to remember. But still, there were times when I will have those dreams and I would see myself in DRC, a country where I had never been before, which was quite weird to me because I had never been in that country. But in my dreams, I would be taken to DRC, and that country will be so familiar to me as if I had been there physically, and then I would be in the village where my sister's husband came from, and I would see my sister's husband's mother. And then whenever I would pass through her compound, she would invite me so that she can tell me something. She would always say, "I have something that I need to show you." But it was as if there was a force that kept me from entering into her room. One day, I had something that told me to pray. When I prayed, I had the dream again. I was walking in her village again, and she invited me, and I was able to enter into her compound. And then she said to me, "It is my son and your sister who has done this to me." She was so sad, and I recognized her as the woman that came out of the TV. When we were having that conversation, she was wearing that beautiful royal blue dress that she said her son and my sister had bought for her. By the time that they started to get rich, they bought that dress for her. And she said that it was the dress that she was buried whilst she was wearing this. She said this was the dress that my son bought for me. He called me one day and he said, "I am going to send you a dress that you have to wear, Mom." And then she said, "Oh, my son, this money that you want to send to me from South Africa, the last time that we spoke, didn't you tell me that things were not okay for you and your wife? How did you manage to raise this money? It is a lot of money that I can use on buying a dress, whilst you are telling me that you and your wife, you are struggling. You do not have any money to buy food. You cannot use this money to send it to me so that I can just buy a dress. Feed yourself first, and after that you can send me some money." But that was when my brother-in-law told her that he wanted to send the money because at their church where they were now attending, they were told that the reason as to why they were facing all of the spiritual difficulties, it was because they were not taking care of her, and they needed her mother's blessings, and they wanted her to buy the dress using the money that they were going to send to her. And that was when she agreed. And even when my sister confessed, by the time that she told us that indeed she was a ritualist, she said at the time when she and her husband were suffering a lot, they went to this other church, and the pastor was a Nigerian. And then the pastor said that those that want to give seed money, they were supposed to give their seed offering to him. So she and her husband, with their small business that was struggling, they took a lot of money and they gave it to the pastor. The pastor then called them to his house and then informed them that they had been chosen. It was her husband as well as other South African couples that had been chosen to become part of the cult. For the pastor had said, in order for us to get a lot of members to come to our church that are wealthy, we need people that are wealthy in church. And the only way that you can quickly become wealthy, if you become part of this occultic club. And they were chosen to become the richest people in church and then attract more rich people to that church, so that the church can get more money in donations. That is what our sister told us. And then they were made to join that occultic club, and their pastor was their leader. So when they forced her in-law to buy that dress, it was because she was going to be the first sacrifice, and we did not even know that this was what was going to happen. My sister's mother-in-law in that vision said when she received the money from her son and his wife, my sister, she even went on a fasting period, blessing them, thinking that truly they wanted her blessings. But she did not know that her own son had laid a snare. Her own son was there looking to destroy her own life. When we were having that conversation, the funny part about it was that this woman, she was speaking in French and I was speaking to her in English and Shona, yet we understood each other in the visions that I used to have communicating with her. I would understand every single word of French that she would be saying to me, but after I would have woken up, then I would not understand what she would have said in those dreams. And then she said after she had bought the dress and when she had blessed her son, that was when she started to have the same dreams that I was having also when I was staying with my sister. She said she will have a dream being chased by her own son, and my sister would meet her in the forest and trick her the same way that she used to trick me to enter into a cave. And when she would have entered into that cave, then she would find herself in South Africa in her daughter-in-law's bedroom, and she would be raped by the snake as well as by her own son. And then my sister would appear and stab her, removing her breast as well as cutting off her private parts. The same dream that I was having, that was the same dream that she was having as well. Then she said there was this other day when she was fast asleep. Then she woke up. When she woke up, she saw that it was time for her to go to her fields. She said when she woke up, she looked at her dress that was hanging on the wall, for she could not even afford a wardrobe. She was living in a one room in the villages, so she had piled all of her clothes together. She said that amongst all the clothes that she owned, the favorite one was the dress that her son had given her some money so that she can buy it. So she was hanging it in front of the clothes that she owned. When she looked at that dress, she said she saw a strange symbol that she had never seen on that dress. It was a snake, but this snake, the way that it was moving, it was acting as if it was a dancing dragon. She said, I saw this snake as it was moving as if it was a fiery dragon. When she looked again, she saw that the symbol had disappeared. She rose up from where she was, since she was someone that was suffering from high blood pressure. She thought that maybe the things that she was seeing were not for real. She started walking, going towards her fields. When she was in her field, working. That was when she saw her son, whom she knew very well was in South Africa. She could not even understand how was it even possible that her son, who was in South Africa, all of a sudden it appeared now in DRC, in the village where she was staying. She said it took her about 20 minutes. It was a short distance walking from the place where she was staying, going to the fields where she saw her son. It was not much time, she said, for her son to fly from South Africa and land in DRC and travel to the village within a very short period of time. Therefore, she could not understand what was going on. The weird thing that happened to her was that when she greeted her son, that was when she said her son looked away as if he was not even seeing her, as if he did not even want to speak with her. And she kept on working until her son disappeared. When her son disappeared, when she could not see him anymore, that was when she had a tummy ache and she walked into the fields so that she can relieve herself. She said where her field was, it was close to a dense forest. So as she was walking in that forest, which was very familiar to her, she nearly stepped on a snake, a python, like the one that I used to see in my dreams. When she nearly stepped on that python, it got angry and it started chasing and attacking her. She said that in her life, she had never seen a snake that was so big, that was so thick. She said this snake, it was as quick like lightning. She said in her life, she had never seen such a huge python that could move so fast in the forest. This snake started chasing her. She kept on running and running until she was deep into the forest, and that snake, it disappeared, as if this snake wanted to push her into the middle of the forest where it was thick and dense. After this snake had disappeared, she said something happened to her that she could not understand. She felt dizzy and she was lost. She had no idea where she was, yet she was in that forest close to the village where she grew up in. She looked to the west, she looked to the south, and she could not recognize the place where she was. She was totally lost. When she saw that she could not recognize the part of the forest where she was, that was when she sat down trying to gather her thoughts. That was when she heard a voice that said, "Run." When she turned around, she saw her son, who was wearing a black garment and was holding a knife, and the son said, "You, Mom, you are the one that is stopping me from becoming rich, and I have come here to kill you in order for me to become rich. I want to dine with the kings, to live and dine with the kings. I must do. I want to have contracts that can give me money. When I traveled to South Africa, I had one thing in mind, to become rich. I will never return back home as a poor man like your husband. He died as a poor man. I will never return back to this village as a poor man. Therefore, you have to die. You have to die in order for me to become rich. I will not live the rest of my life as a poor village man." Then she started running and her son started chasing after her. When she was running, she said she met my sister, just like it used to happen in my dreams. When she met my sister, she was happy, but she did not know that my sister was also going to trick her, like the same way that she used to trick her whenever she would see her in her dreams. And then they went to her place, even though she thought that she was being led to her own house back in the village where she was. And she found out that she was in her daughter-in-law's bedroom in South Africa. She then said to her daughter-in-law, "My sister, why have you brought me into your bedroom? Don't you know that it is a taboo? Me as your mother-in-law, I cannot enter into your bedroom." My sister started laughing at her. My sister, as she was laughing, the same snake that had chased her appeared out of nowhere, and her son as well appeared and started stabbing her. And then they forced her to lie on the bed, for she was weak after she had been stabbed. And then they started to cut her breast as her private parts as well. From that day, she said, when she woke up from that vision in the middle of the forest, when she realized that it was a vision, she got up from where she was and she started running. When she was running in confusion, she got caught up in a thorny bush, and then there was a thorn that was stuck to her right breast. From that day going onwards, she said she felt her breast becoming stiffer and stiffer by the day. When she went to the clinic, that was when she was told that it was breast cancer. They removed the right breast thinking that they were saving her. Within a very short period of time, she felt that there was something that moved from her right breast and it went to her left breast. And each and every morning when she would wake up, she felt that there was something like a lump that was growing inside of her breast. And she thought that the lump that was making her breast to become hard would simply disappear. By the time that she returned back to the doctors, that was when she was told that it was already too late, for she had developed breast cancer on her left breast. Just like she had seen in the vision, they removed her breast again. Within a short period of time, she said she started to notice that there was watery discharge that was always coming out of her private parts, and she was told that she had cervical cancer. In order to save her, the only thing that the doctors could do was to remove her womb, and that is what happened. And after that, she passed away. By the time that she told me that she had passed away, we were standing close to her grave. She was pointing at the grave, saying that I then passed away after they had removed my womb. She kept on pointing at her grave and said, "Oh, my daughter, this is my grave. The same thing that happened to me, that is the same thing that is happened to your own mother." When everything happened, when she said that my mother was going to die, that was when I woke up and I saw that it was just a dream. Because of the fighting that was happening in the family, I thought that there were those that did not want me to be so close to my own blood sister. I thought that they were the ones that were making me to fight with my sister and having all of those dreams. Our mom then got so sick, and then when our mom passed away, we had to return back home. When we returned back home with everything that had happened, I said there is no way that I would ever return back to South Africa. My sister wanted me to return back to South Africa. She even said that I am going to buy a car for you, and they had already enrolled me at UNISA. They wanted me back in South Africa, but with the ritual, especially the ritual that I witnessed after their child had passed away, there was no way that I could ever return back. On that night when the child passed away, they went outside. My brother-in-law went outside and he started digging a hole. It was just a shallow grave that he dug in his yard, and it was not a very big hole that he dug. It shocked me, the things that they were doing. They did not want me to call the police or even the funeral services. What they did was that they took the body of their dead child and then they wrapped the body of their dead child in a white cloth. They then went outside. My sister was holding the other end, and her husband as well was holding the other end. What they did with this body, it was truly horrific. It is only that I was scared to stay indoors with the visions that I was having, and knowing that in that same house their child had recently passed away. So I was afraid of the child's spirit, thinking that maybe the spirit was still hanging around in the house. I ran outside and I followed them, but I was standing at a distance. So what they did was that they stood and then they threw the dead body into that grave. It was something that was so horrific. After that, they kept on saying some things that I could not understand. My sister took out a candle that she took from her dress and then she threw it in there, and then they removed the dead body. After that, that was when they called the police, but I suspect that the police that came knew what was happening because they never took a statement from me, because I thought that if a person dies at home before the ambulance has arrived or anything, the police are supposed to take a statement, but there was no statement. Rather, they spoke with my sister and her husband. One of the police officers even said that since it was cold, they were supposed to prepare hot chocolate for them, and they sat and they were having a discussion until the funeral services came and took the body. No questioning, me or anything. The things that I saw on that night, it was not normal. For me, it was just too much. I was even scared for my own life. And then that was when we returned back to Zim. I told my sister that I would never return to South Africa, even though she tried to bribe me by saying she would buy for me a car, as well as they had enrolled for me a place at UNISA, saying that you will be using your own car going to university and returning back home. When I was at home, whenever I would look at my mother's grave, I would feel so much hurt, and I did not even know that me going to my mother's grave was what was going to break this curse that our sister had placed on our family. I went to my mother's grave, and this is what I said. I said, Mom, I really do not understand, but there are things that I witnessed when I was still at your daughter's house there in South Africa. Mom, there were dreams that I had. Even the way that you died, I really do not even know what really happened to you. But if it is my sister that killed you, Mom, I need you to wake up, to fight from within the grave. You have to fight for us, your children. Fight for me. Fight for your own sons. Look at the way that your sons are suffering, moving up and down, yet they are not doing anything in life. When I went to bed that night, that was when I had a dream. I had a dream, and in my dream, I saw my mother, and there was someone that was blocking her ears. I saw the spirit of my mother, but yet she could not hear me when I called out to her, for there was a person that was blocking her ears, and I could not see the person, and she could not understand me, for there was that was holding my mother's voice so much that she could not even communicate with me. Seeing that we were unable to communicate, my mom then started using sign languages. In that first dream that I had, I could not understand the sign languages that she was using, until one day she dragged me to this other certain grave. In the morning, when I woke up, I was like a possessed woman. I woke up early in the morning. I started following the path that my mother had showed me in my dreams. I ended up being at one of her brother's grave. It was a brother's grave, and still I could not understand what she was trying to tell me. I just stood there by my uncle's grave, and I said, "It is I, uncle. It is I, Mavis' daughter. I am here. Last night I had a dream. That is why I am here. Your sister, my mother Mavis, came to me, and it seems as if there is someone that used my mother, your sister, for rituals, for she cannot communicate with me. She can't talk because there is a person that is holding her voice. Her voice has been taken away from her. As for her ears, whenever I try to talk with her, she can't hear anything because they have also blocked her ears. Therefore, she has been using this sign language, and she has brought me to your grave. You are the one who is in the spiritual realm. You can see what we cannot see. Can you please help me to understand what happened to my mother? I want to know what really happened to my mother." That was when I had a dream. In my dream, I saw my uncle. My uncle, he came to visit me. When he came, he said, "Oh, daughter, I am feeling so thirsty, really thirsty, because I walked from a land that is very far away. I have been walking for a very long distance. Therefore, I am thirsty." In my dream, I then said, "Uncle, I know that you are thirsty, but I cannot understand. What am I supposed to give to you so that you can quench your thirst? Do you want water?" And when I was speaking with my uncle, that was when I found myself and him. We were standing in a field that was full of sorghum that was already ripened, and then he showed me traditional beer. When I woke up, I went to one of my friends who understands these things of ancestors, and I told her about the dream that I had. My friend took me to the shops, and she said, "Your uncle is thirsty and he wants you to pour some traditional beer for him to the ground." And I said, "How?" And then we went to the shops, and then she bought chibuku for me and said, "I will help you to pour this chibuku beer onto the ground." We then went and we got some sorghum seeds, and she also had some powdered tobacco. She said, "Let us wait until it is time for us to communicate with the ancestors. And then she helped me with the whole process. After she had helped me, that very same night, I saw my uncle. When I saw my uncle, he was no longer that weak man that had complained of walking for a very long distance that I had seen in my dreams previously. The night when he came to me, he was a strong man. He was like a man of war, a hero who was holding a spear. It was a burning spear. He was standing on top of a hill and he was roaring loudly so that the whole world can hear that he was back to fight the battles that were happening in the family. He said that he had came to fight. He shouted on top of his voice as he was holding his spear, and he said, I have come here to fight. I have been sent by the heavens to fight. I have come here to fight for my own sister, for I know what they have done to her. I know what they have done for him. I have come here to fight this battle. Therefore, he was looking at me and he said, tell my brother to prepare. Dear daughter, tell my brother to prepare. Tell my brother to help me to prepare for battle, for he has to buy clothes for me to wear. Because as for now, look, I am naked. Yes, indeed, he was naked. He was not wearing any clothes at all. And he said, how can a man like me go to war while he is naked? Tell him to buy clothes for me that I will wear so that I can go to war. How can a man go to war and fight all these battles while he is naked like this? In the morning, I woke up early in the morning, for I had to go to one of my uncles' house who was staying in another village. But the problem was that the village was so far, about 60 kilometers from the place where we were staying. As I was walking, I even felt tired, but it was as if I was possessed by a spirit that kept on giving me strength to walk, because I did not even have money to get onto the bus. I walked until my legs were so swollen and painful. Then I arrived at my uncle's house and I told him that this was the dream that I had had. I told him the same story that I told you, Brother Nashi, what had happened to me when I was still in South Africa, the rituals that my sister performed and the dreams that I had, as well as the things that I had gone and said at my mother's grave. I told my uncle the whole story. We were sitting in the kitchen, so he was sitting on this other bench. He started crying, and then he sat onto the floor and he kept on crying. He cried like a baby. As he was crying, he said, Mavis, Mavis, oh Mavis, my sister, Mavis, my sister. So this is what your daughter, your evil daughter, has done to you. But I said it, Mavis, do you still remember, oh sister, the time when you came here, when you were looking for food? Did I not say, Mavis, Mavis, you have a daughter whom we hear is a multimillionaire in South Africa. How is it even possible that your daughter, a millionaire who has so much money, but yet you go around the villages, oh Mavis, looking for food? Is it even possible? I told you to think about it, but you defended your daughter because you loved your daughter. But look at you now, Mavis. Oh Mavis, look at you now. You are dead. But anyway, oh dear sister, it is going to be okay. As he was crying, all the relatives, his relatives, they were there. This meeting was done in secret. As we were seated, crowded in the kitchen, we all sat in silence as he was crying. Then we planned that there was a go back to sender that was supposed to be done. My mother's relatives, they did not want to inform any of my relatives because they were afraid. They said that since you all depend on your sister financially, amongst you there is one who is going to inform your sister that we are planning to do a go back to sender. There was a traditional healer who was brought, and indeed we saw that our sister was a ritualist. This traditional healer said that he was going to give me some charms and I was supposed to bath with those charms, and then the whole family was going to be united. After I had returned back to our village, I bathed for several days using those charms. As a family now, we sat together and we saw that what was happening in the family was not normal. It was time for us to look for help. We created a WhatsApp group that our sister did not even know about and was never a part of that secret family WhatsApp group, and we were planning a downfall. Those that had gone to other countries, those that were not speaking with us, to countries like Botswana as well as Mozambique, they returned back home, and there was no one who even told our sister that this was what we were planning. We then traveled to an area in Chivi, to this other traditional healers compound, and whilst we were there, we did a go back to sender. It was a go back to sender in which we knew whom we were sending it to. So my sister had killed our mother. Our sister, this is how we performed the go back to sender. The traditional healer gave us some pumpkin seeds as well as some sweet potatoes and said, take this and go and plant them at her grave, our mother's grave. So we planted the pumpkins as well as the sweet potatoes. Later on, our sister confessed that when she was performing those rituals with her husband, they had taken the sweet potatoes and they had planted the sweet potatoes and cursed our mother and said, just like these sweet potatoes, the way that it grows underneath the soil, that is what is going to happen to you, oh mother. Your spirit will grow underneath the soil. You will never be able to rise up from your grave again. You will never be able to wake up and to tell your relatives or your children that you are not resting in peace. We went and we planted the sweet potatoes. When the sweet potatoes started sprouting, the traditional healer told us to remove the plant, and then we had to burn them. We burnt them, and then we waited for our sister to return back, because we were told that there were bad things that would start to happen to her and her rituals will stop working. We knew when the day that our sister was going to come. After the pumpkins were all grown now, that was when our sister returned back home. When she returned back home, there was one night when we were sitting in the kitchen and there was a fire that was burning, and we were busy eating the maize that we had been roasting on the fire. Later on, when we went to bed, my sister kept on complaining, even though we knew that our sister had came to perform another ritual. The traditional healer had said that she will come back to remove this pumpkin plant that you are going to plant at your mother's grave. And when she touches that pumpkin plant that you would have planted, you are going to see what is going to happen. She is going to confess everything to you. So when she started complaining, saying that she had a running stomach, she was suffering from diarrhea because she had eaten a lot of maize that we had roasted on the fire, we knew that it was a plan. She wanted to go and visit our mother's grave for her evil rituals. And that was the same night that she started running mad. I pretended as if I was fast asleep. She got out of bed. She looked and checked if I was fast asleep. I pretended as if I was fast asleep. She then silently opened the door and started walking. And then I took my phone and I informed my uncle, who was there, as well as my brothers and the village headman. She went to our mother's grave late at night. We communicated, and then we started following her. We followed her at a distance as she was walking like a drunken woman. She was holding a clay pot as she walked towards our mother's grave. When she arrived there, she knelt down and she started crawling on her knees as she got closer and closer to our mother's grave. She stopped because we saw that there was a little spark of fire that was dancing on top of our mother's grave. It was small. She kept on crawling and crawling, and that fire was blinking as it was dancing around our mother's grave. When she reached close to our mother's grave, she then threw some charms on top of our mother's grave, and then the fire started burning even more. She kept on throwing charms into the fire. Me, the village headman, my uncle, and my brothers and their wives, we stood hidden beyond the trees as we were watching everything. We were shocked at everything that we were seeing. Even the village headman, he kept on shaking his head and said, "Manano royawe, Muroi, this woman is a witch." We stood there in silence. She threw some charms as well on my mother's grave again and again. then the fire started to die down. As the fire was dying down, no longer burning as hot as it used to, she started laughing. She was laughing as if she had defeated the fire. And then that was when she got up from where she was kneeling. As she was speaking to herself, since we were standing at a distance, we could hear her shouting, but we could not get what she was saying. She walked towards the place where we had planted the pumpkin. That was when she tried to pull the pumpkin out. She only screamed. She screamed so loudly as if there was something that had hit her and there was an explosion. She fell to the ground. My brothers, they rushed to the place where she had fallen. And then we said, "Oh, sister, so it is you who has been making us to suffer for all of these years." She only said, sorry. And when she avoided confessing, there was a person that started beating her up. She screamed again and again, and she said, "Let me confess." That was when she told us that in South Africa, when she met her husband, they were both suffering. They went to church, a Nigerian church, and they were told that they had been chosen because they had given a seed offering, the last money that they had. Therefore, they had been chosen to be part of a club that was led by the pastor. The pastor wanted rich people in church. The quickest way for those people that he had chosen to be rich was if they could become ritualist like he was, and they had to sacrifice their parents. She had chosen her mother. Her husband had chosen his own mother. From there on, our sister, before we could even catch her, she rose so quickly and she started running. We were only able to catch up with her after we had ran chasing after her for a long distance. By the time that we had gotten to the place where she was, she had already removed her clothes. Our brothers looked away, for they did not want to see her totally naked. Our sister was running mad until the day that she ran away. The way that our sister ran away, we were in the kitchen, me and my brothers. Then one of my brothers said, "This mad woman, where is she now? I cannot see her," because in the morning we would take her from one of the spare bedrooms and we would tie her to a tree with some chains. But when our brother got out, that was when he saw that she was gone. We all went outside and we could not find her. She was no longer there, but the chains that we had used to tie her to the tree, they were still there. How she managed to remove herself, we do not even know. But this is what happened after we had performed a go back to sender on my sister. So I once heard this other person saying that a go back to sender, it is not a good thing to do. But in my own case, I think that a go back to sender, it is a good thing, because we could have never found out that this is how our sister had been performing all of these rituals. When you post my story, please tell me. I'll be following through in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Hoping that you were able to understand this translation. Let us meet again in the following episode.